Vivek Ramaswamy suspended his campaign after finishing fourth to, obviously, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, and Nikki Haley, who finished in that order. The fact that Haley finished third, though, didn't stop her from making the claim that this is now a two-person race between her and Donald Trump. Look at what she says versus the chyron at the bottom of the screen.
I can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
It says right on the screen, you're in third. It says right on the screen, you're in third place. It says right there, 51, 21, 19, and you go up there and say...
That's why he calls her bird brain.
Yeah, bird brain. There you go. That's why he calls you bird brain. See? You walk right into his trap there.
Tonight, I will be back in the great state of New Hampshire. And the question before Americans is now very clear. Do you want more of the same? Or do you want a new generation of conservative leadership?
That's an interesting question because Haley really is more of the same of Joe Biden. Right. Like, she is basically more reliably a continuation of Joe Biden than even Joe Biden. And, you know, we be careful what we say. We don't want this to happen, of course. We don't wish this on him. But actuarial tables being what they are, it's likely that the next term of Joe Biden will not end as Biden's term. And so she's actually the most reliable sort of torchbearer of the Biden legacy, which is worldwide death, destruction, and war, and censorship and austerity here at home. So she's actually the more of the same candidate.
Genocide Joe's already taken. So what's she going to be? Ethnic cleansing Haley, or we have to find what her name's going to be. She is. I mean, she's very like Hillary.
Yeah,
she's running on her genitalia in place of offering any kind of legitimate change.
And I guess relative youth.
Yeah, her identity is the change. I mean, Hillary wasn't able to run on her youth, but she was running on her identity, and I mean that is identity politics. That is DEI in a nutshell. The idea that swapping out the identities into the same old roles, structures, and systems is in and of itself revolutionary. That's revolutionary change by itself, which of course protects those structures. That's the purpose of it.
Right, of course. And the other Orwellian thing about that speech that she gave was that she finishes third place and she says it's now a two-person race. Your job in this caucus was to make this a two-person race by knocking DeSantis out. You needed to finish second. Like, if your theory of the case was that you could build momentum going into South Carolina, which is your home state, you needed to finish second here, get DeSantis out of your way, make a really strong showing in New Hampshire with DeSantis out of the way. That was a lot more possible than it is now. And then shock the world and win South Carolina, and then see if you can get some money together for some ad campaigns on Super Tuesday, at which point you're still throwing a Hail Mary.
Right.
Because what did we learn with the Bernie Sanders campaigns? These early states are good for momentum, but momentum can't stop a juggernaut like Trump. Bernie never built a ground game in a lot of the Super Tuesday states like Arkansas, Tennessee, these places where you kind of forget about because they're not the big marquee states, but they still have a lot of delegates and they still count in terms of, springboarding your campaign off of Super Tuesday. So she's got nothing there. So it's going to be extremely difficult for her to compete on Super Tuesday. But if you knocked DeSantis out, did well in New Hampshire, shocked the world and won your home state, South Carolina, now you can at least throw the ball down the field and see what happens on Super Tuesday. But without having done the first step of that, now DeSantis is in. Now you can't catch Trump in New Hampshire, which means you're not going to get any momentum going into South Carolina. You're done. I mean, you had to finish second here, and you didn't.
However, this is what you do have to take into account, and as much as I hate to give it up to friend of the show Rachel Maddow, She's not wrong. We'll get to this, but he is going to get convicted. I mean, there's no way he's going to skate on all the charges he's getting hit with.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure.
I really don't think, and I'm not litigating whether he should.
Right.
I'm simply saying I don't think it's likely that none of these charges end in a conviction. And between that and the Supreme Court agreeing to take up Colorado, anything can happen. You could be looking at a DeSantis-Haley race by the time you get into Super Tuesday and beyond. You really don't know. So because you have factors here that are really unprecedented, I don't think you're going to see people dropping out quite the way they would in a normal election, because they're going to want to be there in case.
Right. Exactly. Well,
like if the Supreme Court turned around and made a ruling, it would not surprise me if they were still in, they just drop out the next day.
I mean, technically, you can still, do that because technically that's why they say you're suspending your campaign, not ending it, right?
Right.
So you could theoretically restart it, of course.
But it's very difficult to get your momentum and your structure back.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you already have a team in place, you're in a better position to capitalize on those events if and when they should happen. And there are Trump trial dates scattered throughout this primary calendar. One of them started today, the E. Jean Carroll case in New York. That's a civil case, but that started today.
I mean, that won't take them down.
This schedule is going to be insane.
People have already heard this, and it's not a criminal. That's not a criminal case. That's a civil case.
It's a civil case, yeah.
But when you're looking at some of these criminal cases, if he gets convicted, it's not, I don't think he can't win a Republican primary convicted, but Jesus, what if they literally put him in jail? Like what, at what point do Republican voters turn around and say, well, we could get two terms out of DeSantis.
Right. Of course.
Like, is there a limit where it just becomes too much? So I don't think you can evaluate this the way you would evaluate any race we've ever seen in terms of what the also rans. Oh yeah, no,
obviously there's a ton of X factors. But in terms of her thesis that this is now a two-person race and that she can garner organic momentum as the calendar goes on.
Well, that's what I think they call in the business pulling a Buttigieg.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes, pulling a Buttigieg.
Thank you for giving me the victory in Iowa.
Right. What? Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
Please clap.